Most people around the world and from all walks of life would agree that love is important. But what exactly is love? What is true love? What is the definition of love from the Holy Scriptures? How is it applied? What do we need to know? We all know that for those who read the Scriptures, that we ought to, love God with all of our heart, mind, and soul, love our neighbor as ourselves. We all know that the greatest asset really is love, to put it that way. But as I say, what is it? So that's what this video is all about. Okay, what is true love? And of course, we're not interested in the precepts of men here. We're interested in the biblical definition of love, how it's defined in the Holy Scriptures. So welcome, to another Israel Awake video. Just remind everybody, Israel Awake, what we're all about is just that, being helpful in the awakening of Israel in these last days. All right. God is doing an amazing thing in these last days. He's awakening his chosen people, all right, as prophesied and as per promise. All right. He's awakening us all up, bringing us back to himself. So that means that there's many of us around the world now who are having an inner yearning, an inner desire to return back to our culture as the children of Israel, our heritage as the children of Israel, our history as the children of Israel, to return back onto the God of Israel, Yahweh, to keep his laws, statutes, and commandments, okay? And to keep the faith, right? Keeping the commandments and keeping the faith go hand in hand, all right? So, welcome to this video. Let's get straight into it, shall we? Let's get straight into this issue of what is love. So, let me just share the screen, okay? Let's share my screen with you. Right. Okay. Excellent. I think where I'd like to go first is to 1 Corinthians chapter 13. All right. Let's just do that. Anybody who's familiar with this part of the scriptures will know that this is a great place to go when looking at the subject of love. So let's do that. 1 Corinthians chapter 13. Let's read through verses 1 through to 13. Verse 1. Though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, and have not charity, I am become a sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal. All right. So right from the verse 1 here in chapter 13, we're told that even if you speak with tongues of men and of angels, the gift of tongues, you see, but have not charity, you might as well just be sounding brass or tinkling cymbal, just making noise, a noisemaker without charity. All right. Now, first of all, let's get these definitions right. I'm reading from the King James Version throughout here. All right. So the term used in this particular chapter is charity. Now, charity, the word charity is actually synonymous with love. All right. In fact, when you think of, if you ask people to think about the word charity today, most people think of a third sector voluntary organization, and not for profit, not for profit objectives. Okay. Now, the reason why the term is interchangeable is because really, if you're working for a charity, it's a labor of love. All right. You're not in it for the money. You're not in it for the profit. Yeah. You're in it because it's a labor of love. Yeah. There's an agenda of reaching out to some people or something in some way. All right. And that's why the term charity has evolved, if you like. That's the etymology. But just to show you from the scriptures, okay, let's get that from the scriptures. So let's go. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put up the lexicon. All right. So obviously, with this being Corinthians, this particular book has come down to us in the Greek form. All right. So it's taken from the Greek. So let's look into the Greek and see this word charity. All right. Because it's important that we get these definitions right before we continue. So let's go. Yep. Let's have a look. Right. Here we go. Here we are. Charity. See that there? The Greek, agape. Yeah. Strong's reference number for those who like to look into these things. G26. All right. So we've got the word here. Let's see if we can get the pronunciation here from this website. Agape. Many of you watching this video may be familiar with that term. It's a well-known Greek term, actually. The love, it's that great kind of love. There's different types of love in the Greek. This is the more divine type of love, the kind of love that the Father has towards his people. All right, it's that high level of love. All right, so agape. Let's get an actual definition of agape then. So we're going to go into look at Strong's G26. All right, let's have a look here. Okay, so outline of biblical usage. So how the word is used throughout the scriptures. So agape alludes to affection, goodwill, love, benevolence, brotherly love, love feasts. You see that? It's to do with love. Agape is love. All right. So charity, the actual word used in the Greek is agape, which is love. So charity is love. Okay, the word love. Okay, it's important to get that out because we'll be looking at these words as we go through this video. All right. Okay, so let's come out of that. Okay. All right. 1 second. Okay. Come here. Okay, 1 second. Let me just get this back on screen. Okay, so let's go back to first. I've just come out of it, so let's go back into it. 1 Corinthians chapter 13. Bear with me. So just getting up on screen now again. All right, so now that we've got that established, let's start again from verse 1. So verse 1, though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels and have not charity, which is love, I am become a sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal. And though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith, so that I could remove mountains and have not charity, I am nothing. You see that? Right? And though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith, so that I could remove mountains and have not love, I am nothing. All right. So let's keep reading this. Let's, like I said, it's verses 1 to 13. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned, and have not charity, it profiteth me nothing. Yeah. So it's becoming, showing us that without love, even the most selfless, apparently selfless act actually doesn't amount to anything. Without if the agenda, if the real motivation behind it actually isn't love. So verse 4, charity suffereth long. So love, yeah. So love suffereth long, and is kind. Charity envieth not. Charity vaunteth not itself, is not puffed up, doth not behave itself unseemly, seeketh not her own, is not easily provoked, thinketh no evil, rejoiceth not in iniquity, but rejoiceth in the truth, beareth all things, believeth all things, hopeth all things, endureth all things. See, these are the attributes of love. Charity never faileth. Yes, or love never fails. But whether there be prophecies, they shall fail. Whether there be tongues, they shall cease. Where there be knowledge, it shall vanish away. All right, showing you that even all these things, as great as they can be, yeah, they're not as long-lasting as love. Yeah, love is the highest of them all. All right. So verse 9, for we know in part and we prophesy in part, but when that which is perfect is come, then that which is in part shall be done away. When I was a child, I spake as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. For now we see through a glass darkly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then shall I know, even as also I am known. And then verse 13, and now abideth faith, hope, charity. These three, but the greatest of these is charity. Making, yeah, three great things there: faith, hope, and charity. Faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. All right. So we see that. Let's have a look here. What I'll also do is, let's have a look here. If I go to, let's have a look, Bibles. Yeah. Let's have a look. Just to show you some of the other biblical translations outside of the KJV on 1 Corinthians chapter 13. Yeah, so verse 1, yeah. Though I speak with tongues of men and of angels and I have not charity, I am become a sounding brass. The New King James Version reads, though I speak with tongues of men and of angels, but I have not love. So what they've done is, in the New King James Version, they replaced the, if you like, the older word charity with the popular word love. Yeah. And you'll find out through your New Living Translation. If I could speak all the languages of earth and of angels, but didn't love others, I would only be a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. You see that? So all pretty much all versions, translations agree that the word is love. All right. So just to share that with you. All right then. So this is why this topic is so important. So important. All right. Because love is the greatest. Love is the greatest. It really is the greatest of all attributes. All right. Without it, nothing makes any sense. And that's what's been alluded here in Corinthians. Okay. Let's keep going here. So it's such an important thing to bear in mind. Okay. So we see the need then. This makes it absolutely clear that we need to know what love is because it's that important. Yeah. As wonderful as the gift of tongues is, it's not as important as love. Yeah. Faith. But great. But without love, yeah, we've seen that. There's no getting around that. That message is clear in 1 Corinthians chapter 13. So then, seeing as love is that important, as made absolutely clear here, right? Then what is it? And we don't just want anybody's definition. We want the Most High's definition, all right, as inspired, in the inspired word, the Holy Scriptures, all right. So let's do that. Let's go to, first of all, I'd like to go to 2 John. All right, so that's 2 John, and let's go to verse 6. All right, so 2 John, okay, there's only one chapter in 2 John. All right, so we're going straight to verse 6, okay, on screen. And this is love, that we walk after his commandments. This is the commandment, that as ye have heard from the beginning, ye should walk in it. Now, this is important because we've been told that love is the most important thing. We've been told that it's more important than speaking in tongues. We've been told that it's more important than even apparent acts of selflessness. All right. We've got to be walking, all right, after his commandments. That is what love is. Yeah. So in other words, if we're doing all manner of things, but are not keeping his commandments, which, you see, it's easy to say, I love you. It's another thing to demonstrate that love. You see, clearly the Father's not interested in lip service, but in the demonstration of that love. Yeah, love is a doing thing. It's not a saying thing. Yeah, it's an active dynamic, is love. It's something to be demonstrated. All right. It's not just a lip service. All right. So this is very important. So verse 6 again, and this is love, that we walk after his commandments. This is the commandment that, as ye have heard from the beginning, you should walk in it. All right. So this is what love is. It's keeping the commandments. All right. It's so important. So important. And we're gonna and this message is throughout the scriptures. Yeah. And when you do the line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little and there a little, it all makes even more sense as you bring the scriptures together as we ought to. All right. So again, let's get that from First John. All right. Let's go to First John. First John chapter 5 and verse 3. All right. Oh, sorry, I've got that up here wrong. Okay, First John, yeah, chapter 5. 1 second. Right, 5 and verse 3. Let's get up on the screen. Okay. For this is the love of God. Yeah. Many of us say, if we love God, then we want to keep his commandments. For this is the love of God, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not grievous. You see that? Love is the keeping of the commandments. Yeah. If you really love God, you will demonstrate that love. Not just say you love him, but you will demonstrate that love. Love is a doing. Yeah. It's a doing dynamic. All right. So if we love him, we're going to want to keep his commandments. We're going to want to obey him. Yeah. We're not going to want to disobey him. We're not going to want to rebel against him. Yeah. We're not going to want to shrug our obligations and duties towards him. We're going to embrace them. We're going to rejoice in them. Right? That's what love is. So it's so important to get the biblical definition of it. So then, so that the 1 Corinthians chapter 13 makes is even more clear. All right. So it's so important. So it's important to look at it from a biblical point of view, because what you're finding is where love and commandments go hand in hand. They're one and the same. The love and the keeping of the commandments. All right. Let's take another look at that. Let's go to John. Yeah, I'm going to go to John chapter 15 and let's go to verse 10. All right. By the way, the word love used in 2nd John and 1st John that I used there, by the way, is the same word agape. The same word that was used for charity. So it's the same word we're talking about. Yeah. When it said, yeah, the love of God, the word for love there is the same agape. All right. As a matter of fact, before we go any further, right, let's establish that, because I think that's an important thing to actually confirm here on this video. All right, let's go back to, first of all, 2nd John. I'd like you to see it for yourselves. 2nd John chapter 1 verse 6. All right, let's go all the way with this. All right. Oh, sorry, 1 second. Let's go along here. All right, 1 second. All right. So sorry, let's do that again. All right, so 2nd John verse 6. That's what I've done. All right. Okay, here we go. So 2nd John 1 verse 6. And this is love, that we walk after his commandments. This is the commandment that, as you have heard from the beginning, you should walk in it. And yeah, so let's look at this word love here. Right? And this is love. If you can see on screen, the word used for love here in the original Greek, all right, from the manuscript used, is that word agape, the same exact Greek word that was used for charity in 1 Corinthians chapter 13, making it clear that we're talking about the same concept. All right, this is like for like translation. All right, like for like words that's being used there, like for like idea, and a like for like concept being used here. The concept being agape, yeah, which is love. All right, so I just wanted to show that with you. So making it clear then that the love spoken about in 1 Corinthians 13 is the very same love being spoken about in the definition of love here in 2nd John. Yeah, 2nd John chapter 1 verse 6. So I want to show you that again in 1st John. Yeah, 1st John chapter 5 verse 3. Hang on 1 second. So 1 John chapter 5, verse 3. For this is the love of God, that we keep his commandments. Let's see what Greek word was used for love. For this is the love, here we go again, G26, agape. Agape again.
G26, agape.
Agape, all right? It's the same word used for charity, showing you that charity and love are the same word, all right? Okay, I just wanted to make that absolutely clear. All right then, let's go to, we went to John 15, no, we're not there yet, are we? Yeah, here we go, John 15:10 on screen. If you keep my commandments, you shall abide in my love. Okay, even as I kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love. Yeah? Do you see that? Keep my commandments, you shall abide in my love, even as I kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love. Showing you that commandment keeping and love are one and the same. Love and commandment keeping and love are interchangeable. They're one and the same. You demonstrate your love by the keeping of the commandments. All right? So that's made so clear here. Let's go into the Blue Letter Bible so that we can get into the lexicon for the King James Version here. All right. So that's so look, that's John. Yeah, that's John chapter 15 and then verse 10. All right, let's do that. Yeah. If ye keep my commandments, ye shall abide in my love, even as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love. Let's go in there. Let's see what the word was used in the manuscript. Here we go again. Love. Yeah. G26, agape. It's the same word. All right. Yeah. So this is a like for like comparison here in terms of concept. It's agape love. All right. Agape love. All right. Let's come out of that. Let's go to verse. So look, let me go down to verse 12 actually in the same book. Let me just get rid of this interlinear. And let's go down to verse 12. This is my commandment, yeah, that ye love one another as I have loved you. And this is where we begin to see that the commandments are really all about love. That's why if you love God, you'll be keeping the commandments, because the commandments are all about divine love. When you are keeping the commandments, you are demonstrating divine love. You are demonstrating the attributes of our Al-Hayam, that's of our God himself, yeah, of the God of Israel. And this will become more apparent as we look through some of the scriptures. All right. So this is my commandment, that ye love one another as I have loved you. Again, showing you that intricacy, between commandment keeping and love, because it's one and the same. We saw that the biblical definition for love is the keeping of the commandments. We saw that, yeah, in 1 John and 2 John, yeah. And then Christ goes on to say, Yahushua goes on to say, greater love hath no man than this, that a man may lay down his life for his friends. And we're going to come on to that a little later in this video. All right. So this is so important. All right. Commandment keeping is all about love. Love is all about commandment keeping. And because what we're going to find out is when you're keeping the commandments of love, what you're doing is you're learning, you're training your spirit, yeah, to represent the attributes of God himself. Yeah. God has not asked us to keep random commandments. Yeah. The more you keep his commandments, the more you look like him. The more you resemble him. And we're going to come on to that. It's so important to get this right. All right. Okay. Let's take a look at the interrelationship, yeah, of commandment keeping and love, one and the same. Let's look at that. Let's explore these dynamics further. So let's go now to I'm going to go to Matthew. Yeah, so Matthew, and let's go to the 22nd chapter, I do believe. Yeah, let's go to Matthew 22. All right, and I'm going to scroll all the way down to verses 37. So verse 37, and then I'm going to read verses 37 to 40. All right, so back up, verse 37. Yeah, in fact, start from verse 36. So Yahweh Mashiach is asked the question, Master, which is the great commandment in the law? So of all the commandments, yeah, what's the greatest? Okay, answer, Jesus, as Yahweh Shai, said unto him, Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul and with all thy mind. This is the first great commandment. And the second is like unto it, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. On these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets. So these two great commandments, all right, are the foundation of the law. I.e., the law is built on a foundation of love. Yeah, we are commanded to love. That's what the commandments are all about. They teach us how to love. Take these, yeah. So look at the first one. Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul and with all thy mind. I've done other videos on this channel regarding the law itself. And for those who've seen it, you'll know that how you break these two down, these two foundational commandments down, that's what the Ten Commandments are all about. Because you see, the first four of the Ten Commandments sheds more light on how to love God with all of your heart, mind, and soul. The last six of the Ten Commandments sheds more light on how to love your neighbor as yourself. Yeah, the first four being, thou shalt have no other gods before me. That's how you love Yahweh. Yeah, not to call his name in vain. That's how you love Yahweh. Yeah, to remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. That's how you love Yahweh. Yeah, to not bow down to any graven images. Yeah, and again, to worship them. This is how you love Yahweh. How do you love your neighbor? Well, if you love your neighbor, think of it. It's so simple when you once your eyes have been opened and your heart softened and your neck loosened. All right. All praises to the Most High for that. All right. If you love your neighbor, you're not going to murder them. Thou shalt not murder. You're not going to steal from them. Thou shalt not steal. Do you get it? You're not going to covet your neighbor's house. You're not going to envy them. Yeah, and all the rest. All right. We're not going to do these things. And bearing in mind, it's just a point to note as well, is that when Yahushua gave these answers, all right, that the first great commandment, the second great commandment, obviously he was quoting Torah. Yeah, he wasn't making up commandments here. Yeah, he's quoting from the Torah. So it's always been the case that we ought to love God with all of our heart, mind, and soul, love our neighbor as ourselves. Because some people tend to use these verses to say that you no longer keep Torah. It's all you've got to do is you just keep these two. And even then they're relying on different definitions of what love is in the first place. All right. Anyway, I'm not going to go too deep onto that aspect just now. I do believe I did so in the videos on law. All right. But if anybody does have any, questions and still unclear about things, then please do get in contact with us here at Israel Awake. I'll give the contact details at the end of the video. All right. So really, really important. The commandments, the law of the Almighty is a law of love. It's a love law. It's a love law. All right. To miss that is to miss everything. It's a love law. So to keep the commandments is to love God. If you're not wanting to keep the commandments, then you're not loving God. According to the scriptures, you may feel you are, which is why we're told not to lean on our own understanding. All right? It's not about what we think. It's about what the Father has commanded. All right? So important. All right, then. So, yeah, I'm going to leave that there at that point. Okay, so why is keeping the commandments a way of loving God? What is it? Yeah, let's break it down even further. All right, because if we learn, there's things to be learned about the law that will show us that actually the reason why the law is there is because these laws reflect the Father's own attributes, as I was saying earlier. Let's take a look at that now. All right. So, for example, did you know that the commandments are truth? Yeah, the commandments are truth. Now we know that Yahushai is the way, the truth, and the life, but we know he was also a commandment keeper, so there's no contradiction there. The commandments are truth. Let's take a look at that from the scriptures. Yeah, so let's go to Psalms 119, which is the longest psalm in the scriptures. Yeah, and let's go to verse 151 on our biblical tour. Thou art near, O Yahweh, O Lord, and all thy commandments are truth. Yeah, so the commandments are truth. So when you are keeping, the commandments, you are literally, all right, aligning yourself with truth. You are allied to truth, aligning yourself with truth. Okay, so seeing as the commandments are truth, that makes the commandments reflective of Elohim, of Yahweh, and of his first begotten Yahweh Shai Mashiach. All right, let's take a look at that. Let's go to John. All right, book of John, chapter 3. And make sure here. Yeah, let's go to John chapter 3. Yeah, 1 second. And verse 33. Okay, let's take a look. Okay, John chapter 3, verse 33. He that hath received his testimony has set his seal that God is true. Yeah, so when we're keeping the commandments, just as God is true, we're now being true. We're now exercising truth. We're now demonstrating truth because we are now keeping the commandments, which are truth. Do you see that? This is important to grasp, Israel. So important to grasp. All right. So commandment keeping makes you look like Abanawa, our Father. It means you're now demonstrating his traits, if you like, his characteristics, if you like, his personality, if you like. That's what you look like when you're keeping the commandments to him. You're reminding him of him. The commandments are true. So when you keep them, you're like him because he is true. He is the truth. All right? Let's get more of that out about him being the truth. Yeah. Let's go to Isaiah 65. Yeah, Isaiah 65. Let's go to verse 16. Take a look there. All right, there's on screen. That he who blesses himself in the earth shall bless himself in the God of truth. And he that sweareth in the earth shall swear by the God of truth. Because the former troubles are forgotten, and because they are hid from mine eyes. Do you see that? He's the God of truth. The commandments are truth. So by keeping the commandments, more and more and more and more and more, we're formed into his image. We're created in his image. but there are varying degrees of reflecting his image. All right, we know that because we know that we can draw closer to God. It is written, yeah, resist the devil and he will flee from you. Draw close to God and he will draw close to you. So we can always get closer. And the closer you are, the more you are resembling him. All right, until full atonement, full at-one-ment. All right, okay, and we know the glory is going to be revealed at the sounding of the last trumpet, where ultimately we'll have to be changed and literally look like him. Yeah, once we've cast off the mortal coil. Wonderful times ahead, Israel. All right, keep the faith and keep the commandments. Let's keep digging. Right, let's go to John 14. All right, John chapter 14, verse 6. John 14, verse 6. Jesus said unto him, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father but by me. You see that? He's the truth. So when you're keeping the, and he was a commandment keeper. Remember, he never came to do his own will. He only ever did the will of the Father. Yeah, he said, I never came to abolish the law. I never came to destroy the law. He told us that. When the young man asked him what he needs to do to get to eternal life, Yahushua said, keep the commandments. So he was a commandment keeper. He taught us to keep the commandments. He led by example by keeping the commandments. All right. So when you're keeping the commandments, you're aligning yourself with truth. You're demonstrating a truthful life, which makes you resemble the Most High and our Savior and King, Yahushua. Yeah. All right. Okay. Let's what else can we learn about the commandments that reflect the characteristics of the Most High? Right. Well, another one is, did you know that the commandments are righteousness? Let's take a look. Remember, everything that we say must be backed up by the Holy Scriptures. So let's go to Psalms 119 again. Yeah. But this time we're going to go to verse 172. So get that up on the screen now. Here we go. My tongue shall speak of thy word, for all thy commandments are righteousness. You see that? Righteousness. So when you're keeping the commandments, you're aligning yourself with truth. Simultaneously aligning yourself with righteousness. Because guess what? These are interchangeable, interminglable. Yeah? Righteousness is truth. Truth is righteousness. All right? So Psalm 119, 172 makes it clear that commandments are righteousness. Okay? So it's righteousness. Yeah. And again, this isn't necessarily about the in-depth of the law, but the law comes into it because law is what love is all about. The keeping of the law is love. So there's I couldn't ignore this. It has to come out. All right. Now I know I can almost I can anticipate some people looking at Psalms 119, 172 and saying, but I thought, for example, like with Abraham, his faith wasn't counted to him as righteousness. That's absolutely right. But did you know for some people their faith isn't counted for them as righteousness? Why is that? What's the difference? Why was Abraham's faith accounted to him as for righteousness, whereas some people's faith isn't? And we know that because we know that some people are going to be told, those who did have the faith and were prophesying in Yahushua's name, there's some people are going to be told, I never knew you, depart from me, yet they demonstrated faith. So why is it that their faith, those in Matthew chapter 7:21, why wasn't their faith counted to them as righteousness? Because they were not law keepers. We know that because he said, depart from me, ye that work iniquity. Iniquity is sin. Sin is the breaking of the law by biblical definition. All right. So I just wanted to touch on that because I can anticipate some people getting confused or putting up walls in their minds when they hear about the commandments being righteousness. Abraham kept the laws, the statutes, and the commandments of the Almighty. That's in Genesis chapter 26, verse 5. I don't want to labor the point, but I do want to touch on that right here. As I say, I anticipate some resistance to what's being said here amongst some. All right. Anyway, Any more? If you really are struggling with that, like I say, I'll give contact details at the end if you can contact us. Perhaps have a dialogue on that. All right. Okay. So the commandments of righteousness. Okay. Well, who does that remind us of? All right. Let's go to Psalms 145. All right. And let's go to verse 17. Let's take a look here. The Lord is righteous in all his ways and holy in all his works. You see that? So the commandments are righteousness. So when you're keeping the commandments, you're being righteous. If you're being righteous, then you're looking like Yahweh. You're becoming like Yahweh. Because that's what Yahweh's doing. He's raising up his children by his standards. It's like if you're brought up in a royal household, you see, we're actually a royal nation, a holy nation of kings and priests. So if you've been brought up in a royal household, there are standards, protocols that you are taught and that you must abide by as a member of the royal household. We've been lost as a people for so long, we've long forgotten all of this. We just see commandments as somebody trying to spoil our fun. You couldn't be further from the truth. It's the keeping of the commandments that ensures that you get real, genuine, lasting fun. We've got to get this right, Israel, and we've got to share the message, all right, amongst our people. All right. So the Lord, Yahweh himself, is righteous. So when you're keeping the commandments, you're demonstrating that attribute of Yahweh. All right. What else? This, you know what? We can go on for ages on this topic because it's a powerful topic. But obviously, for time, I've had to narrow it down somewhat. All right. So let's before we do, let's see what else we can learn about the law. Okay. So let's go to Romans chapter 7, verse 12. Okay. So where's Paul? Let's see Paul's summation of the law. Wherefore the law is holy, and the commandment holy, and just, and good. So the commandments, they are holy, they are just, and they are good. Holy, just, and good. Who does that remind us of? So if you're keeping the commandment, you see, then you are aligning yourself with holiness, justice, and goodness. You are being holy, just, and good when you are keeping the commandments. No wonder we're told throughout the scriptures, right from the Old Testament to the New Testament, to keep the commandments. Because it is shaping a character, a spiritual character, a divine persona. All right? For what, yeah, if you like. Okay, so the commandment is holy and just and good. Well, who is holy? Who ultimately is holy? Let's remind ourselves scripturally. So let's go to Leviticus 19. Yeah, so many places we could go, but I've chosen to Leviticus 19 and verse 2 because it's nice and clear and plain. Yeah, speak unto all the congregation of the children of Israel. Yeah, yeah, the Maladiam of Yashral, and say unto them, ye shall be holy, for I, the Lord, that's Yahweh, your God, Elohim, am holy. You see that? So the commandments are holy. Paul said so. So again, the more you keep the commandments, the more you are adopting and cultivating the very characteristics of Yahweh himself, which is not surprising because he's rearing up his children. And of course, he's going to rear up his children to look like him, like father, like son, like daughter. You see that? All right. Let's what else? Let's go to First Peter on that one. First Peter. Yeah. First Peter, chapter 1, verse 16. Let's have a look here. because it is written, be ye holy, for I am holy. All right, so we're reminded of this in the New Testament works. All right, okay. We also learned that that the commandments are just. We saw that. All right, the commandments are just. So who was just ultimately? So Isaiah, let's go to Isaiah for that. Let's go to Isaiah 45, all right, and verse 21. Tell ye and bring them near, yea, let them take counsel together. Who hath declared this from ancient time? Who hath told it from that time? Have not I the Lord, Yahweh, and there is no God else beside me, a just God and a Savior. There is none beside me. You see, Yahweh declares himself to be a just, Al-Hayam, which he is. He's just. Do you see Israel? You can see the pattern that's emerging here. The very explanations that we're finding to describe the commandments in the Bible are the very attributes of Yahweh himself. So do you see how, if you like, the commandments are it's like a program. It's like a life exercise, training up your spirit and soul to become more and more like your creator, to demonstrate the attributes, to adopt the attributes of our creator and Al-Hayam, Yahweh himself. All right, such a profound point to be made here. All right, let's get more on that. Let's get more on that. Yeah, him being just. Let's go to Ezekiel. Yeah, Ezekiel chapter 18, verse 9. He walked in my statutes and hath kept my judgments to deal truly. He is just. He shall surely live, saith the Lord God. Right? So you see this. Look at the tone of our Al-Hayam. Have walked in my statutes. The big, what? I've kept my judgments to deal truly. He is just. Right? So doing God's, keeping to his statutes, keeping to his judgments, and to deal truly, yeah, makes you just as God himself is just. Yeah, you see that? We also learn in Romans 7 verse 21 that the commandments are good. We saw that. So who ultimately is good? Who does that remind us of? Well, to remind ourselves, let's go to Psalms 100. All right, and let's go to verse 5. For the Lord, Yahweh, is good. His mercy is everlasting, and his truth endureth to all generations. It's so clear, isn't it? By keeping the commandments, we are demonstrating God himself. We're demonstrating the attributes of Yahweh himself. All right? Okay. So, why is that? In fact, we'll come on to that. We'll come on to that. And we're going to conclude shortly. All right? Let me just bring out another aspect to this, because we know that love is the greatest. But there is no greater kind of love than the love where you sacrifice yourself for another. So let's see how this fits in, how this plays in. First of all, let's remind ourselves of that. So let's go to John, and I know we saw it earlier, but we're going to revisit this scripture. John 15, all right? Let's go to verse 13. All right. Greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends. All right. That's the greatest kind. Basically, self-sacrifice. Yeah. Sometimes you see it. I've seen it played out in some war movies. All right. A lot of heroes, a lot of war heroes. What makes a great war hero, if you like? are often those who get martyred, if you like. Yeah, those who jumped on a grenade to save the rest of them. That type of thing. I'm sure you get the point. And that's what's been alluded to here. Greater love hath no man than this, than the man laid down his life for his friends. All right, which is exactly what Yahushua did. Exactly what Yahweh had done for us. All right, exactly what he had done. All right. By the way, that word love, guess what? It's agape. Yeah. No greater love hath no man than this. In fact, let's get it out. We're in John 15 anyway, over in the blue letter. Let's go there. There we are. John 15, verse 13. Greater love hath no man than this, that a man laid down his life for his friends. So let's go in there and see what this word of love is on the manuscript. Here we go. Greater love is agape. G26, agape. The same word used for charity in the King James Version in 1 Corinthians chapter 13. It's absolutely clear, Israel. It's absolutely clear. All right. Okay. So no greater love, right? That's why we know that, because we know from the classic John chapter 3 verse 16 that God so loved the world that he gave his only son. All right. So that was a great act of love, right? And we know that. All right then. So let's wind this up. Let's bring this to let's bring this video to a conclusion. All right. So the commandments is how you demonstrate love. It teaches you how to love. That's what the commandments are there for. So that we don't fall into, absolute anarchy, darkness, totally losing the moral compass, losing any and all virtue. All right. And becoming like the masses of ungodly, where we're taught to be holy, which is to be separate. Yeah, not to learn the way of the heathen. All right. So important. All right. And in keeping these commandments, we're noticing, we've read scriptures that show that all these commandments are demonstrating God's own character. Yeah. Holiness, just, truth, righteousness. So why is it that commandments and law are interchangeable? And why do they all point to his character? See, this is like the closing thought, right? Why law equals commandment keeping. Commandment keeping equals law, right? Which all point towards the character of God. Why is that? Why do all these commandments point to God's character? Well, the reason for that, all right, we'll find out. Well, one good place to go. There's many places, but one great place for me, what I find, is to go to 1 John, chapter 4. All right, and actually, I'm going to read from verse 7. All right, here we go. We go down here. Beloved, let us love one another, for love is of God, and everyone that loveth is born of God and knoweth God. Yeah. Verse 8, he that loveth not knoweth not God, for God is love. Do you see that? God himself is love. God himself is love. That's why when you're reading, remember it said love in 1 Corinthians chapter 13. All right, which we'll you know what, we'll go back there in a few seconds, really. Right, we'll go back there. Actually, I'll do it that way. We'll go back there and look at it on the screen. All right, because you'll see it's actually describing the Father. He that loveth not knoweth not God, for God is love. All right, and let's read down to verse. Yeah, let's keep reading. In this was manifested the love of God towards us, because that God sent his only begotten Son into the world that we might live through him. Herein is love, not that we loved God, but that he loved us and sent his Son to be the propitiation for our sins. Yeah, so basically to appease us, to appease the Most High regarding our sins by being the sacrifice. Beloved, if God so loved us, we ought also to love one another. Yeah, love God with all your heart and love your neighbor as yourself. No man has seen God at any time. If we love one another, God dwelleth in us, and his love is perfected in us. This is what the commandments are all about. Hereby we know that we dwell in him and he in us, because he hath given us of his Spirit. And we have seen and do testify that the Father sent the Son to be the Savior of the world. Whosoever shall confess that Jesus, Yahweh Shai, is the Son of God, God dwelleth in him and he in God. And we have known and believed the love that God hath to us. God is love. It says it again, God is love. And he that dwelleth in love dwelleth in God, and God in him. Do you see that, Israel? The keeping of the commandments looks like Father because he is love, and the commandments are all about love. Let's go to verse 17. Herein is our love made perfect, that we may have boldness in the day of judgment. Because as he is, so are we in this world. There is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear, because fear hath torment. He that feareth is not made perfect in love. Yeah? We love him because he first loved us. If a man say, I love God, and hateth his brother, he is a liar. And this is true, because if you love God and hate your brother, you're breaking the commandments. For he that loveth not his brother whom he hath seen, how can he love God whom he hath not seen? And this commandment have we from him, that he who loveth God love his brother also. Absolutely consistent with the law, statutes, and commandments. So with all this in mind, Israel, let's go back, to the scriptures that we began with in this video. All right, which was 1 Corinthians chapter 13. All right. Okay, then. Now, let's take a look. Though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels and have not love, have not, not keeping the commandments, I am become as a sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal. And though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith so that I could remove mountains and have not love, not keeping the commandments, not saying I love him, but demonstrating that I love him by keeping the commandments, then I am nothing. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, so I can be as generous as I want, selfless as I want, which is fantastic in the world's eyes. Yeah. People get a lot of notoriety and publicity for some of their philanthropic pursuits. Yeah. But, and though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned, even as a martyr, and have not love, don't want to know about keeping the commandments, it profiteth me nothing. Love suffereth long. And isn't it funny? Because remember, God himself is love. So God suffers long, and even he does, he's very patient. We know there's scriptures for that. I'm not going to go there now. This video would be too long. Yeah? The whole scripture is a testimony to that. That he's abounding in, slow to anger and abounding in steadfast love. And is kind. Well, God is kind. Envieth not. Well, yeah. Charity vaunteth not itself. Charity vaunteth not itself, is not puffed up. Yeah. Doth not behave itself unseemly. Seeketh not her own. Is not easily provoked. Thinketh no evil. And these are things that all the laws and commandments and statutes regarding morality clear up. Rejoiceth not in iniquity, but rejoiceth in the truth. What's the truth? The commandments. Yahweh Shai was a commandment keeper. Beareth all things, believeth all things, hopeth all things, endureth all things. All right. I can almost anticipate some people thinking, yeah, well, you can't rely on the law. No, we're not saying that. There's videos on the law. It's got to be with the faith. Yeah. There is grace. Yeah. We've touched upon that. Please don't mistake grace for license to sin. Yes, there is grace, and the grace is there to ensure that we get enough time to start keeping the laws. It's not a license to sin. I've covered that on other videos. Please explore other videos if you've not done so, or if you need to contact us, please do. All right. Verse 8. Yeah, love never faileth, but whether there be prophecies, they shall fail. I.e., prophecies can change, or sometimes a prophet can misinterpret what the Father was saying, or sometimes a prophet may not get all the nuances, because we sometimes things in part. All right. So, for example, a lot of the prophets, where they saw arrows for a future event, those arrows could have been alluding to missiles. You get the point, and we know that to be the case. People of ancient times, based on the imagery that they saw in the prophecies that were revealed to them, right, would only understand it in the context of their understanding of their historical time that they were living in. Yeah, how does somebody from 3,000 years ago describe a nuclear missile or a helicopter? Yeah? A helicopter will be described as something like a locust with many with wings with the sound of thunder, that type of thing, and we find this type of thing in the scripture. All right, so I have to bear this in mind. So yeah, but whether there be prophecies, they shall fail. Whether there be tongues, they shall cease. You may get tongues for a season and no more. Yeah, clearly somebody who's died, who used to speak in tongues, is no longer speaking in tongues. Yeah, whether there be knowledge, it shall vanish away. All right, so yeah, but it's the love, the love of the Most High that is enduring. All right, so I think I'd like to leave that there. Really, I'd like to leave that there. So Israel, I'm really hoping and praying that if anybody had any gaps in their understanding regarding this, this has helped somewhat. And for those who are well versed in this, I'm hoping that it's just helped to confirm what you already know. All right, or maybe even giving you some other ways of looking at it, or other ways of explaining it to others. All right. So either way, I hope you find that edifying. All right, I really do. All right, so I'm going to stop that there. If this has done anything for you as well, then please feel free to share this video. All right, please feel free to share. But in the meantime, regarding this particular topic, all right, please do pray about it, think about it, yeah, ponder on it. Okay. As I say, contact us here at Israel Awake if you feel prompted to. Yeah, we'd be more than happy to hear from you. All right. Okay, so let's just to say then, I'm gonna come on to give you some contact details if you need to contact. All right, but please do spread the word. Just some scriptures to back that up. Matthew 9:37-38. Then saith he unto his disciples, the harvest truly is plenteous, but the laborers are few. Pray ye therefore the Lord of the harvest that he will send forth laborers into his harvest. All right. So there's a harvest of souls out there, brothers and sisters. All right. Let's do our part if we're called to, to help bring the harvest in. All right. Okay. Proverbs 11:30. The fruit of the righteous is a tree of life, and he that winneth souls is wise. So it is a wise thing to win souls for the Most High. Okay. So let's do that. Let's do that together. 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 9. For we are laborers together with God. Ye are God's husbandry. Yeah. Ye are God's building. All right. So let's labor together, Akiam wa Akwath, to spread the word. All right. Okay. 3 John verse 8. We therefore ought to receive such that we might be fellow helpers to the truth. So let's be fellow helpers, to the truth. Okay. Matthew 24 verse 14. And this gospel, good news, glad tidings, that's what gospel means, of the kingdom. So the good news is all about the coming kingdom. Get excited, Yashrallah. Yeah. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. All right. So just a reminder that the reason why videos like this and videos done by others are going around the world is because we're at that time. Yeah. We're in the last days here. The last days of the status quo of the world as we know and understand it today. Yeah, the world's order, the world's structures, the governance, the systems. All right, we're coming into it. All right, all the more reason to get very excited now, Israel. All right, and to keep the faith and to keep the commandments and endure unto the end, and to pray without ceasing. All right. Okay. So how can you be a fellow helper? Well, then, again, if you think that this video deserves a thumbs up, then please do so. Please give it a thumbs up. If you've not yet subscribed to this Israel Awake channel, then please do so. Please click on subscribe, and please click on the full bell for all notifications and to ensure that you receive all notifications of other videos as and when they are uploaded and all the rest of it. All right. And there are other plans for other types of broadcasts going forward as well. So keep a listen out for that. Okay, and as I've been saying throughout this video, if there's any questions, queries, anything you want to share, anything at all, then please feel free to send us an email at israelawaken7@gmail.com. You can see the address there on screen. All right. So that's about it. As I say, I hope you got something from that. Yep, I hope you did. I don't think there's anything else to say really at this point then, apart from the Most High bless you and yours. All right, I'm asking for blessings, guidance, and protection unto all the remnant of Yashrallah. Okay, Shalom, Israel.